AI-generated recipes have taken over the internet. There are so many pages like this all over Facebook with an AI profile pic and hundreds of recipes. This is a turkey club sandwich with a crunchy M&M aioli. You can tell this is AI because the M&M is weird, but others are a lot more realistic. It would take a food blogger years to make and photograph this many recipes, but AI can do it overnight. And each one even has an ingredient list and instructions, just like you'd expect. And they're flooding people's feeds. The question is, are the recipes any good? We tested ChatGPT recipes a few years ago and they were terrible.
Top this frosting with a piece of gum to serve as an additional decoration and to suggest the idea of sticking several slices of cake together.
Maybe things have improved. Let's give it a go. Starting with sesame orange churro bites. It's got all the right ingredients in here and the method looks fine. But I think the quantities might be slightly off. But let's keep going and see. That looks too runny to me. Add in the eggs, and yeah, that's not the right consistency at all. I'm going to have to use a whisk to get this to combine and try and mix it together. Let's pipe some churros. There's no need to use scissors to cut the dough like it told us to because the dough is so thin. They definitely aren't a thick enough batter to hold their piped shape. Even though these look like they're going to be crispy and puffy and yummy, they are very quickly deflating and looking soggy. Let me add the orange honey sesame drizzle, which tastes like it belongs on a Chinese meal. And it looks nothing like the AI picture at all.
Oh, orange sesame churros bites. Yuck. I like all those words, but none of this.
What's wrong with it?
Sludgy inside, and the sesame taste doesn't work with churros. It's not really a churros, it's like a little slimy, crunchy sugar thing.
It was an AI recipe.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all because I think AI, a lot of what you see online, the recipes and whatever, they look good, but they're not right. And I think that goes outside of the world of cooking as well. So beware when you are using AI as your primary source.
That is only one recipe, so to be fair, we should probably try another one. These flourless crepes look amazing. Well, they're very hard to flip. This is my third attempt at trying to flip one over without breaking it into lots of pieces, and I have made lots of crepes before. The recipe says to serve it with Greek yogurt, berries, and maple syrup, which once again looks nothing like the AI-generated picture. They've got crepes that look like they definitely have flour of some sort in them, and then topped them with cream with flecks of something orange in it. AI can of course pull bits and pieces from recipes all over the internet, but it can't actually make the recipe to test its texture and see if it's any good.
It's an odd texture. It's almost a bit too firm on the outside where it's been cooked. Maybe slightly eggy.
And it definitely can't taste the flavour.
The only thing making them edible is like all the stuff you put on top. Without it, it's like, ugh.
So for now, you're better off finding a recipe that has been written by a real human. But how do you spot the difference? I mean, yes, of course, some AI images, it's very easy to tell that it's AI, but others aren't. If I type in chocolate chip cookies, these are all AI-generated images that other people have generated, and most of them look pretty good. Let's search for chocolate cake. Or how about wedding cake? Would you have been able to tell that these were generated by AI? Let's try searching for a chicken dinner. None of these are photos of real food or dishes. They've all just been generated by AI. So what is Facebook doing to curb this issue of fake AI recipes just flooding their platform? Well, if you go to the Meta website, you can see that they have been busy researching something called inverse cooking. It says, image to recipe generation system takes input as a food image, so you could use an AI image there, and outputs a recipe containing title, ingredients, and cooking instructions. And if you scroll down, they conveniently have the code available for download. So it looks like they are actively promoting this sort of content. Now, although the ability of AI to very quickly generate content and completely flood the internet with fake recipes, the actual concept is not new. As we've talked about before, some websites, even news websites and recipe books, have used stock images that they've just bought and then just put a recipe underneath. So the photos don't match, the recipes may not have even been tested to make sure if they're any good. It's just expensive to actually make legitimate cooking things. You've got to buy all the ingredients, you've got to then set up the photos really nicely. It takes a long time and a lot of money in equipment to do all of that. So it really does more than ever come down to who you trust. You've got to find people who you know are legitimate people actually really doing this. There's quite a lot of good YouTube cooking channels. If you're actually watching them making it, there's less of a chance they're faking it. But as we know with debunking, it's not 100%. And there's also lots of good cooking blogs too. I'm going to put a list on my website of quite a few that I think are legit, that I've used recipes from them before and they've turned out nicely. NG wants to know if she should be washing her cheese.
Ever wonder why shredded cheese doesn't melt well? If you're a fan of making nachos as a midnight snack like I am, you've noticed you can still see the individual strands of melted cheese across the chips. It doesn't melt well. This is because the cheese is coated in anti-caking agents like potato starch or powdered cellulose so that it doesn't turn into a glob of cheese in the bag. If you're looking for a way to quickly fix this, just run your cheese under water to get all that powder off. You'll notice that not only does it melt better, but will help your cheese taste even creamier when you do.
Now it is true that store-grated cheese does contain anti-caking agents to stop it clumping back together, but I've never noticed that having any effect on its melting ability. So let's run some tests comparing the store-grated cheese to cheese that's freshly grated at home using the same brand and the same type of cheese. Let's sprinkle this on some corn chips and put it under the heat and wait for it to melt. You can definitely see a difference here with the freshly grated versus the pre-grated. If we give it a little longer though, they now look pretty similar. So from that it looks like the pre-grated might melt a little slower. We need to run some more tests. Let's wash some cheese so we can include that in our tests. This seems like such a strange thing to do. We're going to have to let that drain for a little while because it's rather wet. Now we've got the home grated on the left, the store grated on the right, and the washed store grated in the middle. This griller sits lower at the back, so the chips at the front have less heat, and so far they are looking pretty similar. And the results from above? The water from washing may have made the chips in the middle slightly less crunchy, but not much. I can see a difference in the ones at the front. What do you think? To me, the difference seems so slight that I wouldn't bother. Next,
I am weirded out. I'm going to show you the original of the video that I posted to my socials. I want you to watch that first.
Well, better.
And this is what I found in the listing.
In the day they see you again. And you are just, well, better.
Did you see that? That was my body, my house, my skirt, my crop top, and a different face. They just replaced my face. That is so weird. This is the beginning of AI destroying human trust and integrity. Not only are we no longer going to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not, there's going to be fake content made of every single one of us if we do not learn how to control this technology now.
AI is not going away, and fake content is here to stay, from recipes all the way through to fake videos. So it's really important that you don't just believe everything that you see, but you question it to find out if it's true. Next, Jeannie from Sweden wants me to solve the mystery as to why this TikTok dessert is so ridiculously fluffy.
I'm obsessed.
You can have this entire tub of protein fluff for only 228 calories.
So in a food processor, add 50 ml of unsweetened almond milk, 150 grams of frozen strawberries, a handful of ice, and a protein scoop of your choice. Then you're going to pop in a food processor for about 5 minutes.
It's almost like you're eating fluffy ice cream. It's honestly so good.
Let's figure it out together. First, let's test just some frozen fruit and milk. It comes out thick, but it's more like a smoothie. It's not that airy, cloud-like fluff that we've seen in the videos. So what's missing? It must be something that's in the protein powder. So let's take a look at the ingredients. We can see this has 3 different vegetable gums in it, so let's take a look at these first, starting with the cellulose. I've got some CMC here, which cake decorators will be familiar with as the stuff you add to fondant to turn it into gum paste. If we look at the back, you can see CMC is also known as cellulose gum. Let me add some to water and whip it up so you can see what it does. This is a man-made thickening agent and emulsifier which is not absorbed or digested by the body. Next on the list was xanthan, and this is made by bacteria fermenting sugar. It's heat stable, so it is a very popular thickener and emulsifier. And lastly, carrageenan, which is made from purified extract of red seaweed and also acts as a thickener. All 3 of these, plus other emulsifiers, are currently being researched for their potential negative effect on your gut microbiome and effects of inflammation in the gut. This is a fairly new area of research, but it's worth keeping in mind. If we add some of each of those gums into our strawberry milk mixture, we get a thicker foam, which is cool, but it's still not quite right. There's something else that's making it ultra fluffy, and I think it might be the first ingredients on the list, which are whey protein and whey protein concentrate. Now, to get whey, we're actually going to need to make some cheese. Once it starts to set up, then you can strain it to separate the whey from the curds. I'll use all these curds later to make feta and halloumi cheese, but for now what we want is the whey. Let's put some of it into a bowl and see if it whips. It does froth very well, but as soon as you stop whipping it, the bubbles don't hold up. We need to improve on this. Let's try putting some into a pan and heating it up. When proteins are heated, they are denatured, which means they unfold, which makes the whey proteins way better at trapping air and forming stable foams. At the same time, we're also going to evaporate off some of the water to concentrate the proteins. After letting it cool down, let's whip it up and see the difference. Wow, that looks so much better. Isn't science amazing? Now let's try 1/3 cup of the heat-treated whey, 1/4 cup of milk, and 150 grams of frozen strawberries. No vegetable gums needed because the frozen fruit will thicken it up on its own. Now we blend that for 5 minutes, and voila, it's fluffy. You can send me any videos that you want me to check out using the email that's in the description below. With thanks so much to my amazing patrons. You guys are unbelievable. It is not only amazing to have your support, it's really encouraging as well. Make it a great week by being kind to others, and I'll see you on Friday.